welcome to Friday Shop Talk number 12.
Number 12.
Today we have a very special guest, probably one of the most local guitar makers to us, right?
Yeah.
As the crow flies, he's not that far away. It is Matt Maranger from Kagawong, Manitoulin Island. So,
which, by the way, is the largest inhabited freshwater island in the world.
Yes. So, without further ado, here is Matt.
Hi guys.
Yeah.
I'm just using my laptop computer.
Yeah, us too.
Yeah.
Must just be really close.
Yeah. I look really pink, but I've been outside. So I'm great. I'm glad to be outside a lot. So.
Nice. So, Matt, this is Eric.
Hey, Matt.
Eric, Matt.
Yeah.
So Eric, you're a teacher?
I try to, yeah.
You try to, yeah. Especially these days, right? It's probably really easy to be a teacher right now.
Yeah, it's super easy. Yeah, I love teaching. Right now I'm teaching guitar, piano, drums, and playing together in a band class, all online.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not easy. It's a pain in the butt.
How would you get anything done? That's
yeah, you just do it, and you just it's like the classroom, and I get more done than he does.
You know what? Some of us aren't so fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
For the amount of time I spend in here, it's a lot of just staring.
Like, how's this gonna work?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, lately I haven't even been in, like, since this quad started, I haven't touched a single guitar thing in here,
Yeah.
It's kind of depressing, but let's not talk about that. Let's talk about
Yeah, we're gonna talk about guitars, which is fun, and you can edit this out, but it's 3:00 on a Friday. I mean, like, this is not a coffee.
That's what a shop talk's all about. Cheers, just water.
Yeah, right. And we've been making homebrew, my friend and I, and this is like a maple syrup. It's actually maple water porter.
Oh, wow.
It's kind of cool, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Cheers.
I should have brought our homemade cider.
Oh, nice.
Had a homebrew Friday Shop Talk.
Yeah, exactly. Homebrew. Let's just talk about homebrew. It's actually my other hobby right now, so it's like,
oh, nice, cool.
Yeah, I can totally.
That's
brew,
fun.
but
That's sweet. Cool. Okay.
Guitar making 101.
Yeah. Let's start with the preliminary question of, like, how did you get into guitar making?
Right.
Where did it all start?
Yeah. So it's a little convoluted, I think. I think for everyone it is, because you're like, how? For me, it was essentially like, I loved guitars for years. I played guitar since I was 13. I started as a bass player. And then around the time I was in graphic design school, when I was like 18, at Cambrian College, I bought an acoustic, and I kind of got into acoustic guitar. And then I bought a Telecaster, and then everything sort of like, and then eventually I was pretty much on eBay every night. This was like, to me, I feel like there was a golden era. It was like early 2000s to like 2008. And I mean, I bought stuff. I think half of the reason I have, like, the beginning of my shop, like the first tools I ever had, was because I spent those hours on eBay buying. I had like a Guild F30 that I literally don't remember buying. And in the time, because I was buying so many things, and I think I got it for like $230. And it needed a refret, it needed new tuners, it needed a new nut, and I didn't know how to do any of that stuff. But I was like just buying all these guitars and slowly acquiring all this stuff until eventually I got a Martin D28, like a 72 on trade, and it was a beautiful guitar, like immaculately kept, really nice tortoiseshell pickguard original. Like, it was a really cool, Indian rosewood, but still a really great sounding guitar. And I was told, like, this is the guitar you want, which is odd, but December came around and it like got really buzzy, and I brought it into the shop that I got it from, and they did a setup, and it was like $110. Literally, like, you know, eventually I learned, like, I took it apart when I was confident enough, and I was like, oh, they just put a plastic shim in there. And so, and then I brought it in again because I was like, it still buzzes like crazy. And they said, oh, it needs a neck reset. Oh, that's like $1,200. And I was like, wait a second. and so from there, I just like was like, okay, maybe I can learn to fix guitars, because I have guitars. Like, I wasn't going to jump right in on that one. And oddly enough, it never ever needed a reset at all. It just needed a refret.
Yeah.
I mean, like, we're talking thousands of dollars difference, really.
Yeah.
So it was neat, like, you know. And then I was gonna go to like Timeless Instruments for a hot minute. I thought I'd go because it seems like a really great school. I even contemplated Sergey's school, but I'd been to Vancouver Island. I kind of like, I mean, how do you not love the west coast of Canada, you know?
Yeah. Love it.
I mean, like, I had the fondest memories of that year there, and like, you know, it's cool. It's cool that I did that, and I'm glad I did that, because I was only going to go and do repairs for like 3 months, and then I was kind of sucked in, like,
So
my own.
where did you study then on the West Coast?
Yeah, in 2010.
At Summit?
Summit. Yeah.
Nice.
At the time, like, Joe Egan was there.
Mhm.
He had literally just graduated, and then they offered him to stay and help, which was cool. And Joe was funny because he was like, I don't know that much, but I'm going to help you with what I know. Because he'd only been doing it for about a year. It was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so shout out to Joe.
Yeah.
And then Mike Jarvis, I mean, when I called Summit, this is the thing, I was like in between choosing where I'm going to go. I called Summit, and I got to talking to Mike, and I was like, this is the guy. Like, I'm going to learn repairs. I'm going to learn from this guy. He worked at Fender in California for like, I think he'd said like, you know, a decade or so. And then he opened a lot of the Guitar Center repair shops in the States. He has like dual citizenship. So he worked in America, and then eventually came back to Qualicum Bay, which is like, you know, 45 people.
Right.
Yeah.
And then there's a guitar making school. You're like, I live in the middle of nowhere on the ocean. Hey, it was cool. Like, I definitely like spent a lot of time on the beach. I'd say I really learned to play guitar while I was at Summit too, because it wasn't just a guitar making school. It was like everyone was so into everything that was guitar, and so lots of playing.
Inspiring.
And it was really inspiring, and so I still, like, you know, this is the result of that in a sense, and I still keep in touch with Mike and Joe, so it's kind of cool to still have those connections. I don't have many like direct connections in lutherie because,
Right.
you know, I kind of have been an island, and I haven't really been doing this like full time for now that long, but it's been full time for like 3 years.
Nice. I think that's one of the reasons I thought it would be great to interview you, because I mean, I think you're not well, you're kind of like us in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
like, it's like you're right over there. You're just like west of me.
Yeah. I know.
That little island over there.
As the crow flies, it's not that far.
We got a sailboat this year, Meg and I, with a bunch of friends. So,
nice.
you know, it's closer that way.
Come visit. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, we got a good wharf down here at Hilton Beach. You can, within walking distance, come dock in there, and you can come walk on up.
Hey, don't tempt me, man. That's the whole time.
I'm tempting you. Come on.
Okay, cool.
It'd be great to have somebody finally come here. It's like, because you know how it is living in the middle of nowhere. It's like nobody comes through here. Well, that's not true. Every once in a while, somebody does, but
not with COVID.
Like, and I'm a little. I think you're not so off the path. I'm like a full hour and some change.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a serious detour. So
yeah.
I've definitely had people reach out, which is cool, but you know, and I've had a few. We used to have a B&B, and like lots of enthusiasts and collectors. You know, we kind of said like, oh yeah, there's a guitar making shop next door, and you're like, oh. he attracts people who are your friends. You know, it's like
Right.
but you
Right.
haven't met them yet. It's kind of weird. Like,
Yeah.
and so, yeah, there's a lot of that going on, which is
Yeah.
it's cool. Like, yeah, and that's what's cool about living in a place like Kagwang. That's where I live. It's like it's tourism, but now it's actually, I don't know about where you are. It's definitely more permanent people moving from down south. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah. Same thing. Yeah.
so the real estate is like ridiculous, which is kind of I don't understand, and I'm like I don't even want to know.
Yeah.
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 It's
I
like,
just
oh,
wish I had some real estate to sell.
yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. Like I'm just thankful I even have real estate to
Yeah.
Yeah.
call my own.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
for sure.
what does a typical day look like for you? Like,
Yeah, so you want to talk about kids. I'm like an early riser, so I'm always awake first, and I get up. I shouldn't say always. Props to Meg. But we, often like I'm awake, so we get up 6:30, 7 o'clock, somewhere in there. Have coffee, like playing music, singing, reading. That's what we do in the morning. That's how we start my day. So it's kind of like super chill, and then usually I get into the shop about 8 o'clock, and then I start the morning with like cleaning or office work. Like I really start as the chill as can be because I'm just trying to get like I know what I have set. I usually set up like a weekly plan, and it's pretty loose, like day by day. But I usually start the morning emails, accounting, whatever monotonous task I don't actually want to do that day. I'll do it in the morning
Yeah.
because by the end of the day, I definitely won't do it. And so it's kind of nice to just do the shit that I hate.
Yeah.
Weird. And it's nice you just have coffee, and I have the news on in the background and I just ease into it, and then it's like, okay, here we go. And then hit the ground running. Often I don't even like it's like, oh my God, it's 11 o'clock,
Yeah.
yeah.
I was having this 10:30 tea time. It was like keyed in, but I'm just it's weird. It's like the busiest I've ever been in here. So
Nice.
I'm just like, I'll take it,
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's like noon by the time I realize I've been working for 2 or 3 hours. It is.
Yeah. Right. That's
And
cool.
days are just like, and then the afternoon is the same. I usually work till about 3 or 4. Every day is so different though. I mean, I build so many different things that's kind of where I'm like really I'm at a point now where I'm trying to like I don't want to say streamline, but have things a bit more established. Like it'd be nice to have a routine where Tuesday I know I'm doing this generally,
Yeah.
but I'm getting there, I know that we're going to talk about sort of the development of my electric guitars and stuff, and it's kind of born out of that, where it's like, how do I be pragmatic, still building weird individual one-offs? Like, I build a lot of stuff without jigs. I know that's kind of like, but I definitely like that school. That being said, I've really embraced jigs more than I ever have in the last like 3 months. So it's kind of funny how I'm just going like, can I have freedom to do both?
Right.
Yeah.
Can I be a freehand builder and this scheduled builder? So
Yeah.
and then there's the whole repair side of things, which is like, I don't even know how to do the repairs. Now I'm at the point where repairs were like 2 days a week, and now it's maybe half a day.
Oh,
Right.
I struggle to keep that half a day because it's like
yeah.
it's getting eaten up with the other side.
Right.
So it's a
Yeah.
good thing.
Yeah. We were actually, funnily enough, just talking about that yesterday, having a line of guitars or something that you can build, like basically
That's
without,
repeatable.
yeah,
like,
that's
I guess.
repeatable, while still being then able to be, if even having that may even allow you to be freer to build those individual guitars that are a little more extreme and a little more expressive,
Yeah, and I think from a marketing perspective, it does make some sense to have something that customers can see or play at one point and say, oh, I like that model, and then they know they can order one, as opposed to
it's funny that we're talking, because I have to tell myself this too. I'm like, right. You have to like give them a point of reference. Although I have to say it's interesting because for years I was like, I don't know how I'm selling guitars. I'll just say this: I don't know how. Thank you to everyone who's ever bought one. You know, kind of like it's amazing, and I've come to learn that if you make them, in time they'll find the people who want them. Right? It's weird.
Right.
It's like, and so, and especially I realize like people are buying multiple guitars.
Mm.
You know, I've realized that in 10 years that I've been doing it, people have multiple instruments of mine. I'm sure you've experienced where you're like, someone's so happy with something that they're like, I like, you know, different instruments fill different musical voids, so to speak.
Right.
Mhm.
So that's kind of like where the diversity is nice. You know, at first I was like, I'm just going to build, well, I renege a lot on statements sometimes because like I was just going to build acoustics, oddly enough, and just
Oh, yeah.
stick to these certain models. And I was really like, this is what I'm going to do. But I went to Sonor when I first met Zach. I mean, we talked before, but when I actually first met Zach,
Yeah.
I saw like Mike Baranek, his electric guitar, and I was like, man, Mike makes crazy acoustics, but you're like, man, that electric is actually smoking hot.
Yeah.
And then I saw like Frank Brothers, and I was like, damn, you guys are building like legitimately tight, just like wow, like inspiring, right?
Mhm.
And I mean, then there's millimetric and the whole gamut where
Right.
you're like so much inspiring stuff going on in the electric guitar world that you're like, you know, maybe I could. That's kind of where I saw that there's room, you know,
Right.
Mm.
like,
Yeah.
well, what's my aesthetic? Where, you know, what do I like, and where does that fit in? You know, that's my approach. Is like what works for me and
Yeah.
what I think doesn't work, and then where does my aesthetic lie? It's kind of like right now with these electrics, it's like George Jetson is my real inspiration. But I love that like 60s retro space age.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So yeah, so that's kind of my frame of reference for just for the electric guitars. I mean, the acoustic guitars, it's a funny thing to even talk about because like I'm kind of at a point where I don't really want to make flat tops anymore. And I'm saying this, and people who have flat tops on order for me are like, "What?" You know, but it's not like I like making them. It's actually like a lot of fun. I feel like I don't feel mechanical about it, but I realize it's not like what I love to make. It's not
Right.
like art shops are actually what I love to make, but because they're so time consuming, you're like, I can only really make realistically, like if I was to dedicate some serious time, it would be about 3 or 4 a year.
Wow.
And that would be it. And then the rest would probably be supplemented with electrics.
Right.
So, you know, I'm going to answer a question that is typical, which is like, where do you see yourself in 10 years? Well, that's what I hope for, which is to really just be making arch tops. I'll always make flat tops for people that I know and like get to know. And you know, that's the thing. I like making weird guitars. It's kind of stimulating, you know, it's fun. Right now I'm making a 7-string, like
Wow.
flat top, which I'm like, oh, I could make more of those, you know, like I like to bring something a little different, I guess.
Yeah.
For the
Yeah.
sake of being different, I guess, like maybe, but it's mostly because I see like there's a lot of guitar ideas, musical ideas, you know.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and it seems like you definitely go more towards the creative side of the guitar making, which is really neat to see. Like all your guitars are so much different, and they all have their own character. I feel like I love those small arch tops that you make. Really, really awesome.
Oh, thank you, man. And actually, I'm making one right now that I'm like, it's probably the nicest guitar I've ever made. I'm just so like,
Yes.
this is, if I could make like 10 of those, I'd probably be like, okay, like it's the first time I've made an arch top where I'm like, I'm gonna do this again
Nice.
with the flat back. The
Mm.
big wide oval hole is really nice. Like it's a bolt-on neck, which that's why I do the oval holes. I don't know if it's clear, but it's so that I can do a bolt-on neck on an arch top, which I know is not common, but I mean, let's not kid ourselves. You know, we could walk down that road and have that conversation, but
Yeah.
We actually, in our FO guitars, we got a long tool and we go through and have to bolt on that way.
Through the end pin, yeah.
And because he likes sound parts, he could drop his bolts in that way. I couldn't, so I had to cut a hole where I ended up putting the jack from my pickup, so I could just get the bolts in.
But same idea, like bolt on necks, just the way to go.
Yeah.
and I'm fine with people who don't think so. I mean, it's completely subjective, right? It's
Yeah.
I don't know if I am, but that's
you know what, and you can totally be pointed about it, and that's what I love about it. There's so much freedom in this craft, like,
right.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I feel like I'm not even really pushing it that hard. We all know there's people out there who are just mind blowing, right?
Yeah.
Have you looked at Ergon guitars?
Yeah.
I
Oh,
believe
yeah.
he's Italian.
Yeah.
I just think like his headstocks. I'm like, you don't. It's like cubism. You don't even know where the machine is gonna lie. You're like, it's on every plane. Like
Yeah.
his chisels must be so sharp.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Like, holy jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I like is that's the beauty of the internet now is
Mm.
you're exposed to all these things and you go like, it's limitless.
Right.
Like all the time.
Yeah.
And it's cool, and it's nice to you know, for the first time I'm like, this is like feeling like a part of a community, because I just kind of like hasn't really been my thing. You know, I've worked up to like building the shop, getting the tools, coming up with the design ideas, right? You're like, what do I believe in? You know, what can I stand behind? So
Yeah.
Which brings me to a question, like with your electrics, do you find a particular wood that you like? And is that, does the wood affect your sound? Do you think it does? And if you do, can you explain to me how?
I love it. It's such a great question. And like, there's so many people who have like everything, they have firm opinions.
Right.
And I really like a light electric. I think a light electric, and like I've been using a lot of softwood. I've been using like cedar was the first orbiter.
Oh, wow.
It was incredibly resonant. And it's also Spanish cedar neck.
Oh,
so
wow.
it's really light. Like I think it weighed like 3 pounds.
Nice.
And it actually definitely, and it's interesting, even just using like the right strings will bring out the right sort of frequency in that solid body electric. So we can talk about wood, but I think it's every part of the chain, right? So as far as like neck woods, I mean, I just like using either maple or walnut pretty much at this point, because it's everywhere here. It's what I have access to. I probably have like 50 to 60 walnut and maple neck blanks each, right? Like just kicking around.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and that's where I feel like I'm starting to use poplar. I've got hooked up with some poplar because I'm doing a lot of painted guitars, and it's funny because I resented this stuff years ago. It's trash. And it's funny because I'm doing it and I'm saying that. So it's but I've it's funny because I have to find a peace with doing it. And so I did. I literally was like, well, I could do it with water based. And then I really went down the water based finishing route, and it's pretty incredible what I discovered. So going back to tone woods, like poplar to me reminds me a lot of like Spanish cedar, which I think is the best solid body electric wood. in my experience, like it's way more resonant than mahogany, just like 100 mahogany. I made one all Cuban mahogany guitar that was super resonant and really surprised me. So, but it's not, that doesn't fall in line with what I want to do. I mean, like, I don't know about you, Zach. I have people who were like, "Hey, I got this board. I don't know what it is. Do you want it?" I'm like, "Oh, sure, whatever." And I took a board that was this Cuban mahogany from, gosh knows, like that's been extinct for a while. So it's like, oh, I have this. What do I do with it, right?
Right. Yeah.
Sitting in his barn. He was a school teacher, shop teacher, had it estimated it was like 50 years old at least,
Right.
right?
Huh.
So
Might as well turn it into something beautiful at that point.
exactly.
Yeah.
And that's like, why not turn it to a guitar? I think that you couldn't ask for a better thing to turn that air dried 50-year-old Cuban mahogany board, right? So
Yeah.
and so my favorite, it's funny, my favorites are ones that I don't want to use anymore. So I'm gonna have to find a new favorite.
Yeah.
Just
Well,
ask me in here.
yeah. Huh.
Yeah. Next year it'll be whole new ones.
Yeah. Yeah. What I mean, I guess you just touched base on this a little bit, but you use a lot of local woods. And I'm just curious what you think sustainability is like in guitar making, or what's your opinion on
what do you feel?
the way
What do you wanna do?
forward, or yeah.
So like, yeah, there's a lot of, it's a kind of an open-ended question. Probably could fill up the rest of this conversation easily.
Yeah.
Because, it's like, I don't know. For me, it starts with the fact that there's kind of like a disconnect between wood and trees to a degree. It's kind of like, it's like meat, and lamb and veal, and the way that you refer to like something when it's living and when it's not. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, it's hard because I want to think that there's a way, but I don't think there is a way other than not making guitars. So
Uh-huh.
it's something that I've been really pondering, because for a while I had debated on literally making guitars out of just broken guitars. And it raises an incredibly great, like, for one, I know that people are doing it, which, because it makes sense, because really, why not? Especially if you think of like harmony, how many harmonies and Ks are floating around the world that,
Right.
yeah, they just need like a new top or something, or,
Mhm.
but are you going to justify it? Well, if you can take everything and put it together and make it work in an economical fashion, that's like the most sustainable business model I think that exists for guitar making.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
But is it like, it's not something that can be done across the board.
Mm.
So it's like, see, I admire what you've done, Zach, which is you've kind of become the steward of this piece of land.
Mm.
And that's probably the best approach. Like, I think Bob Taylor, he's our best example of, in the industry, of like, that's how you do it. You buy land in Gabon, and you're like, if we're gonna use it, if we're gonna use that ebony, we're definitely gonna use it all, and we're gonna do it in a way that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, but also, how achievable is that for you and I, right? So
Yeah. It is tricky. Like
I'm using a lot of stuff that, like, a good example for me is using like reclaimed salvage wood. I think that's pretty fair, like literally finding pieces of a shipwreck, washing up on the beach, and I'm lucky that it just happens to be English bog oak.
Oh, nice.
So it just happens to be one of the most like coveted wood species on the planet. Total luck. And I'll show you a piece after. It's kind of laughable. You're like, how are you going to turn that into anything?
Yeah, I've actually got a piece too from a ship
Oh, no way.
on Long Island down south. but it's got a big metal spike right through it. So
Totally.
I mean-
Oh yeah, like we definitely ran magnets through it, but you're like, the thing is like 6 inches thick.
yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah.
who knows? But that is like the way to go. And like, we've had some limbs that have fallen off trees, and you're like, well, the tree's still alive, the limbs kicking around. You know, you mill it on site, you leave as much as you can behind, and then you take what you need, right? It's like, that's probably like, you know, that goes for not just harvesting wood and stuff, right? It's like, take what you need, leave what you don't.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You can, right? So,
Yeah.
and then there's like finding people who are like, oh, I've had this wood for 100 years.
Yeah.
Well, this was I don't know, this is just sitting there.
Yeah.
It's hard to be like, it's just sitting there. I'm not like actively seeking
Oh.
out contributing to the deforestation
Right.
things.
Yeah.
It's interesting how like you can have these different approaches. And the hard thing about acoustics is spruce, right? That is like the hurdle.
Especially
Yeah.
for us here in this
I
area.
know what we talked about, Zach and I have talked about, hey, like we should get a white spruce, you know, like we
Yeah.
should,
Yeah. I actually
Which-
was able to find. I was actually able to find a. Well, my father-in-law works for a logger, and he saved this massive tree from being cut into probably lumber eventually. And we got how many tops out of it? 6 or 7 out of a plank.
Yeah.
6 or 7 top,
Where is it?
and like clean, really nice,
Oh,
pretty tight
cool.
grain too. So, well,
and see, and I've got two. I got 2 tops out of someone. This is funny. This was someone caught his dad using strapping that he was like, oh, that I was gonna save for a soundboard for a party. And it's like, what? And so he said he literally pulled it out of the attic, like it had nails in it and everything when I got it, like nail holes and everything. And you know, the guy, he used to work at a mill in North Bay, and they were cutting this quarter sawn stuff, and he was like, it's 1/4 inch thick, perfectly quarter sawn, right? So
nice.
he had, you know, enough that I could make 2 solid tops out of it. So
Wow. Sweet.
I'm holding on to those because they're like, it's like rare, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Mario Prue, I don't know if you know Mario.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't met him personally, but I know. Yeah, I know him.
So I've asked him. My sister lives near him, so when next time I go visit her, he said he's got some tops that he's gonna hook me up with.
Nice.
And apparently he's used it quite a bit. So
Okay. Cool.
To good avail. Like apparently it's got fantastic.
Oh, good.
tone up, so
Nice.
Nice.
cheers to that.
Yeah. Cheers to that for sure. Woo! Yeah. Now you were talking about speaking of sustainability. Not really. You were talking about finishing your electric guitar and going through those finishes. And I'm actually getting to a point where, while I'm waiting till it gets warmer, I'm going to paint my first guitar. And I went water-based. So I was just curious, since you've actually been down this path, what was your experiences and where did you end up? And do you have any, you know?
Oh man, yeah. I
any tips or tricks? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad to help on this because it's the information is not really out there for water-based, but it's interesting. You have, so I've tried 2 or 3. Like I tried LMI stuff, but this is also when like the rules on that stuff traveling have changed. So then I was kind of forced into finding something I could get in Canada. But around that time, Lee Valley started selling target coatings, EM 6000, the M-Tech 6000, the clear.
Okay.
The gloss, like the really nice stuff. And so it is, to me, it performs like lacquer the best out of anything I've used. Like, because I have experience with nitrocellulose, and I mean, I have a can of it just because I do repair work, and it's like you have to, and
Right.
I don't like it at all. I luckily have a little paint booth. I'm hoping to build an addition this year and have like a really legit, serious paint booth that's not even going to be connected to my shop by any means. Yeah, so I may really be able to do the anything, but water-based is really nice if it's reduced. So especially given the climate you're working in. So water-based, my only like real hang up with it is if it's humid, you're gonna have a hell of a lot of open time.
Okay.
So you're gonna add more reducer to be able to make up for, essentially the more reducer is to make up for the added humidity, from my understanding. And to spray it without reducer is like, why? Don't even do it. But they don't tell you that. So that's important. You gotta definitely buy and I would recommend buying the target coatings. And also you gotta seal it with their sealer. I had some adhesion issues. As much as shellac kind of works with everything, and it did work. And I mean, if you want it to check and look vintagey,
Yeah.
by the way, that's the trick. Like,
Okay.
you seal with shellac, and then you finish with nitro or lacquer, this water-based lacquer, and they both have different temperatures and humidity points where they will shrink and change and shift, and then you get this really nice checking. So,
Right.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
and I mean, if you really want to make it go dramatic, you could expose it to like cold shock or and really
Yeah.
I've accidentally gone too far.
Oh.
Yeah. But it's nice, like, and that's my style, is like, I actually, for many years when I wasn't actually just doing this full time, I was in full experimentation mode.
Right.
Nice.
I was just like, wow, the mistakes. Okay, so we'll talk more about how to apply, because the application is massive as well.
Yeah.
If you're going to do it, build yourself a stand so that you can actually have it dry off level, like horizontal.
Okay.
Because I find it tends to be a little runnier than
Okay.
nitro. Like, nitro is incredibly fast at drying, especially if it's reduced. It's like 30 seconds. You're like, it's mind blowing. If you don't reduce this water base, it'll be open for like 45 minutes.
Wow.
If you reduce it, it'll be open for like 5 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
If it's humid. That's why I'm saying you have to absolutely 100% in our climate where we are, generally it's going to be either cold and dry
Yeah.
or hot and humid. Like, neither are really good.
Yeah, exactly.
And I have actually, my whole build schedule is actually built around
Right.
climate. Yeah, seasons. I don't know about you. It's like a huge part of my, like, pretty much from now till beginning of November, I'm not building an acoustic guitar. I'm not bracing a top. I'm not,
Right.
because I just noticed, like, even if I dry the wood, as much as I work at actively, reducing humidity and all that stuff, consistently, it just works for me. Like, I'm like, I had no issues whatsoever. And it's part of, like, when I was doing repairs, I was really into looking at when a guitar was made, because I had read, like, I think Mark Stutman said it, like, you can tell a guitar that was made in the winter versus the summer. And I was like, what? Like really? And then it was obvious.
Really?
Yeah, when I started seeing repairs, I was like, man, this Gibson, it's neat. I had for a while, I had like a really solid string of repairs where, and in two in particular, I had J45s from 1966. One was made in July and one was made in December. And one had no checking. One had a ton of checking. One had like a bunch of issues with a belly top. One was like, the one that was made in December literally was like an immaculate guitar.
Wow.
And they kind of had lived similar lives, right? They were cherished instruments, like,
Yeah.
played every day. Both needed fretwork, both needed new nuts, both needed the like identical things, but one just had shifted way more than the other.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, food for thought. I mean, that's
Yeah.
built in a climate that is not controlled whatsoever.
Right. You don't have a controlled climate there.
Oh, I do. But I still,
Yeah.
in my experience, like, I would much rather tell a customer, okay, this is how I do it. I start your acoustic in November, and you get it, in the summer.
Nice.
That's generally how it works.
Yeah.
And so, like, at this point now, I'm just fulfilling all my orders.
Yeah.
And then starting on round number 2, I have like, so I'm finishing a double neck next week, which is my first double neck. Yeah, I know. It's neat. It's a mandolin and a guitar.
Oh,
Nice.
cool.
I'm kind of like, oh, that's gonna be fun. But I also recently got commissioned to make another double neck. So, so I'm starting another double neck.
Oh yeah.
Wow. Huh,
Yeah.
cool.
You
Cool.
get typecast.
Yeah. Well, as long as you're making money from it and you're having fun, then it's
And that's
all right.
That's
Yeah.
yeah. And that somehow like I've had a few people ask me like, how can you make so many different guitars? And I mean, to me, it's like once you make the molds, it's really not much more work, right? So,
Right.
Yeah.
And I think now I'm actually scaling it back. Like I think I'm only gonna have three acoustic models and then probably 3 electric models and go like, sorry guys, like the freaky stuff now is gonna be, you're gonna pay for it because
Right.
Yeah.
it's time consuming. But it's good because like I don't mind doing it. It's still available. I don't want to turn people off from that. And even if it's like a modified version of a model, that's fine. That's like totally accessible. But it's when someone comes to me with some freaking instrument,
Yeah.
which has happened. I've entertained it and I've made them, which is his
Yeah.
behind me now.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fun though. I mean, you always wish you had more time to do that stuff, but it's just so time consuming.
It is.
Yeah.
Well,
And that's where it doesn't become economical.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I find that as soon as you start getting into like heavy customization, it's a lot of back and forth with the customer, and that eats up a ton of time, really. And it's way quicker to build a guitar with less customization
Or no
customization.
No customization.
Yeah. Yeah. But
Well, and it's
what's the fun in that?
I have a customer who's really encouraging. He's like one of these like I don't know. He's like the opposite of a custom. He doesn't like custom guitars. He likes the people who make them and just let them kind of do what they want with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what I would want, but you have a better idea
Oh, cool.
what's cool. And you're like,
Yeah.
so I've been really leaning into that. Like,
That's awesome.
yeah, because I have a lot of weird ideas still that I have to get out there. Like, so there's definitely going to be some one-offs, man.
Right.
But I don't know how many more there will be. There'll be more sparsely, made, because some of them now, like I have one that I'll talk about it a little bit. I'm a little reluctant to, but
Come
it's
on.
essentially like a faceted top where, essentially to create the arch, I'm gonna actually glue sort of strips of spruce and overlap them to build the arch and then build it down. Have a bridge that's literally pyramid shaped.
Wow.
Yeah, and I've been thinking a lot about the construction of that
Huh.
because I think I could be able to build it super light, like arch, like essentially like an arch top without having to carve away a lot of that material.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
Was my-
Neat.
And why the pyramid? Well, maybe you don't want to give away your secrets there, but why?
Well, you'll see. I think it's actually it's a bit like I have a hard time explaining some of these ideas. I don't know if they're clear. So, just wait and see. It'll be a couple years.
Yeah. Okay. Sweet.
I'll be looking.
But it's one of these weird ideas I have that I got to get it done. It's been eating at my brain for like I think I came up with it in 2018, so it's way too long.
Oh wow.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Time though, eh? Time.
That's it. And it's to be able to dedicate time to like research and development.
Mm-hmm.
I'm lucky I have someone who helps me out once a week, and kind of like have her in charge of like, okay, we're gonna do this weird project.
Nice.
And it's good because it motivates me to do things like outside of my norm,
Right.
because I can still do, I can still fulfill everyone's orders and still plug away at the custom builds while I'll show you. I actually have it right here. While I've been doing stuff like this.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, nice.
I love
So
that.
this is like my new Horizon model, which is essentially like a Les Paul Junior.
Right.
But way cooler.
Yeah, yeah. It's got so it's cool because it's last year when I was like, I'm gonna make electrics. I was like, okay, like how can I make a custom pickup?
Mm.
Don't unless you're willing. Yeah, this is word to the wise. Unless you're willing to dedicate like 6 months of your life every spare minute, or you get the information directly from someone, because it's the only time I actually found no one was direct with me except maybe 2 people, 3 people.
Right. Yeah.
And it was interesting because it was like, well, how do you pull it off? Like how does one go about making that happen? Right?
Yeah.
Very and rightly so. Now that I'm here, I'm slowly, though, I want to actually build I've got a blog going on through my website, but I actually want to make a really detailed post about how I got to this pickup, because everything I designed, I didn't make every part of this. I had them all manufactured in California.
Okay.
The website is actually called Pinoco. Honestly, if you ever need to have something print or cut on a CNC that fits their parameters and the materials and stuff like that,
He's gonna
really
write this
useful.
down.
Write it down, man. Pinoco.com. And definitely like PONOKO.com. Pinoco. And I'm gonna actually give a shout out to Funktronic Pickups. He is the one who gave me the details. So
Nice.
And from there, here I am. And this is like my version of a wide range humbucker.
Okay.
So, and this one is about 10K. So to me, it's like a sweet spot. It's a little aggressive, but it's not. And it's going to have a coil tap, so you can have a 5K single coil. So a nice low output, and then bump it up to the humbucker for some lead tone, and then a phase switch, because you can all of a sudden make it sound like a Strat.
Yeah, cool.
For a single pickup guitar, that's what I think is really cool about, like, I made my own pickups. Like, I really know what they can do. I get the whole circuitry now. I definitely spent a lot of time this year learning about electronics. It's super fun. I actually think electronics, it was a joke. Mike was like, so your job is making guitars, but your hobby is making pickups. Like, how is there a difference?
Right.
Right. Yeah.
I need you to drop by. Now, when are you going to get in that sailboat? Because
I got to get the motor fixed, but
I'd love to learn from you some of this electronic stuff too.
Well, I'm not that like we're about 3 hours away. They have these things, they're called cars.
Yeah, definitely. One of the reasons we were actually holding off from interviewing you for a while, but he says let's do it anyway, was because I was hoping that we could come down and actually have this shop talk in your shop. So we're still planning on doing that
Someday.
Yeah, no, I'm so
whether you invite us or not. We're going to show up
when COVID's not crazy.
Oh, you guys are welcome. I'd love to. And you know what? That's I've been isolated for too long. I know that it's cool to learn from each other. I'm so glad to share. Like you asked me about water bass, man. I feel like it's like one of the few things I can confidently be like, yeah. And also I there's another thing I didn't even mention, which is like your whole setup for spraying. So maybe you want to reach out to me directly, because it's a lot. It's convoluted.
Yeah. So I've got some to try. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try some, and then if you don't mind, then I'll contact you and say, why did it all go wrong? And that'll give me a good idea though of what, some context of where I need to change things. You know how it is. The first time you do it, you think, I don't know even know what I'm doing. So
Yeah, no doubt. And are you spraying for the first time?
Yeah. Why not?
It's you know what? I was taught how to spray, and
Yeah.
then I didn't spray for a year. Actually, I didn't spray for like more than that, and it was gone. I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing. I had to relearn again.
Right.
And luckily, one of my best friends, his dad is a car painter, and I learned an incredible amount. Like, I actually think, like, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be able to finish a guitar the
Wow.
way that I do, because for a while I was spending a lot of time on it, and now I actually spend next to none.
Oh,
And
nice.
that's my goal, is like,
Yeah.
I want to make these electrics really affordable. It's a big part of like why I'm doing it. And like, you know, we live in Northern Ontario. It's not the most bourgeois, economically, you know, prosperous place. It's working communities. But people have an appreciation for things that are handmade now. And
Right.
I mean, the price of inflation is ridiculous. Like to buy a pickup, I mean, I was really committed to buying Mojo UK pickups. As
Right.
much as I love what he does, like they're just unreal. I can't really actually justify the percentage of the cost of that in relation to the guitar. So that's part of what sent me down this path. And now I can actually make a pickup for, even with the materials and my time, for about $100.
Wow.
I think it's really reasonable. And I think a lot of people are turning to making their own pickups, and as they should. I think we should all be making our own pickups, because we can all kind of have our own approach. If someone were to take my pickup apart, they'd go, holy shit, this is definitely out there. Like, it's not like, it's not typically how you would make the bobbin, but I tried to keep it really simple. I'm in the process of getting a 3D printer to just print the bobbins.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and it's cool. I have a friend who he's the one who bought the headless bass from me recently.
Okay.
Really into 3D printing, and he's a real well of knowledge for that. So I have a good resource to. He's printed. So I like my first rough designs. He's printed them for me, and they worked. And I was like, oh,
Wow.
but I'll show you. It's kind of cool. You're like, oh, this actually works. Right. So this is the mock-up.
Yeah.
Right. And this is the
Oh,
one
yeah.
made in California. So
Wow.
it's interesting how quickly things can evolve now.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not going to print. I'm not going to print the covers, I realized, but I'll print everything on the interior. And what's neat is there's certain plastics that actually break down. So these are still like semi-organic plastics. So hypothetically, if it was in, let's say, you know, apocalyptic scenario and all the guitars in the world were rotting, you know, these pickups would actually break down. So
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah.
So, and that's where I'm like, you got to try and find some balance and some personal peace, and when you're pursuing this, you know, like,
Right. Yeah.
Well, I want to be as sustainable as can be. Yeah, no doubt. You know,
Yeah.
planting trees is probably your best bet too, right? So
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm kind of going all over, but you know,
Yes.
No, yeah.
it's guitar making.
Connected.
Like, how many millions of things can we talk about relating to that? So
Oh, so many.
Yeah.
So-
Every day
That's actually
Anything.
why we started this Friday Shoptalk,
Sure.
because we're every day we have some discussion about something. I don't know how interesting they are, but we have them anyway.
and they can all be connected to guitar making.
Yeah.
And, yeah. It's just
So
yeah.
well, and there's so much to share. I'm glad you're doing this. I really appreciate. You know, I like them all. So
Cool.
Nice. Well,
Awesome.
it's been awesome having you. And
Yeah.
so
and you mentioned that you have a website and a blog.
Yeah.
Where can we find that?
right. So my website's marangerinstruments.com,
Okay.
and on the website you can find the blog. It's on the homepage.
Cool.
Okay.
All right. And on social media.
Instagram, Facebook,
Yeah.
Maranger Instruments.
And your homebrew, you can get it where?
Homebrew, you can get it in my basement.
Okay.
Nice.
I don't have a basement, but you can get it.
Cool. We'll have to come by and pick some up sometime.
Yeah. All right.
Cool. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, my pleasure. And maybe next time we'll do it in my shop.
Yeah,
that
no, we
sounds
really
great.
would. Honestly, when this COVID thing is down, I would love to come and visit you and see your shop and hang out for a little while and maybe shoot one of these there and just have a real shop talk. So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah,
Right on, guys.
yeah. Cool.
Cheers.
Yeah, well,
Thanks so
have a good
much, Matt.
weekend.
I
Yeah.
will, you too.
Okay, bye.